everybody, Kelly Thompson along with Rick Smythe. It's the Hawaiian Airlines Open, 25 of Anchorage's best bowlers, and we've cut it down to 5, Rick.
That's right, Kelly. Ray Cox is #1 qualifier, but there's 4 bowlers right underneath him that'd like to knock him off. We'll see what happens.
Well, we're expecting some great action, and our first match is coming up next. Right now on the screen is a list of all the participants in this month's Hawaiian Airlines Open Bowling Tournament. It's brought to you exclusively on KTVA Channel 11, Rick.
That's right, Kelly. We have Ray Cox that are leading the top 5 bowlers, with 4 of them wanting to go up and knock them off for the title. And we'd like to remind the viewers and the bowlers that our next television show will be at East 40 Bowl, August 15th and 17th, and it will be aired the 21st on KTVA 11.
Now we join the first match in the second frame.
The strike right here would put a lot of pressure on Scott.
Now, we were talking to Brad before the match. He really has to have a good follow-through for him to be an effective bowler, and he's going to leave a couple of pins there.
You see, he was a little wide with that shot. A little wild with that shot, and the ball just went way to the left. As he changes balls, he's going to ball that's a little bit harder. Doesn't hook quite as much for him. You see him stand on the right side of the approach, going straight down the lane for the spare.
Looks like a good follow-through there, and he picks up the spare. Brad Daniels.
Okay, Scott Gillis up on lane 4, nicknamed the Gilly Monster. Needs to start throwing some strikes.
Gillis with just a 2 handicap, so he's a good one. And he picks up the strike right there, his first one of the match.
Good shot for Scott. You see, he turns the ball up quite a bit. Turns it up more than anybody on the show today, and he throws the ball to the right and has it swing back and crunches the pins. It's going to be an interesting show today, Kelly. We have a mixture of bowlers as we watch Scott Gillis get up on left lane, get set, needs his strike to put some pressure back on Brad and get back in the game.
He's not going to get it. Leaves 3 pins, and he's not happy about it at all. Scott Gillis.
The ball doesn't quite come up for him. It could be a combination of lane being a little bit slicker or his wrist not being strong enough for him.
Hey, it might be a slick lane for him, Rick. He was checking his footing there on his last shot. Not happy about the traction. See if he can pick up the spare. He does there, and he's happy about that shot.
Okay, Brad Daniels up on lane 4. Brad takes a 4-step approach. You can see him start with his right foot. 1, 2, 3, and slide.
Well, that's going to be a tough spare to pick up right there for Brad Daniels. You're the expert, Rick. What pin does he shoot for here in picking up that spare?
Well, a good tip here, Kelly, is the ball needs to hit the pin closest to you, no matter what pin it is. And if the ball doesn't hit that pin, nothing's going to. So he needs to hit the head pin or the 1 pin on the left side and have the ball go into the 2-7.
No, he missed it. He missed it off to the left just a little bit, and Brad Daniels shakes his head.
See, that was the strike ball. The ball had hooks more for him, and it hooked a little bit too much for him. You see Scott sitting down contemplating his next shot. Scott knows that he needs to get up and throw some strikes against Brad. Brad's liable to get a couple strikes here and put a lot of pressure on Scott.
Approach for Brad Daniels, and he picks up the strike. A nice one. Crowd likes it too. So Scott Gillis, pressure on here early in our first match of the afternoon. Hawaiian Airlines Open. Scott, he's rolled a 300 game in his career. And he's going to leave 4 pins on there. Just not the concentration here early for Scott Gillis, Rick.
That's right, Kelly. He's, as you say, he's rolled a 300. He's had a 786 high series. His current average is 197, but that's subpar for Scott. In the last few years, he's averaged more than that. The wrist has bothered him in the last few months, and you can see it by the ball not coming up for him on the back end. It's not hooking for him. So someone that has a power game like that, that's accustomed to the ball hooking on the back end, when it doesn't start hooking for him, then they get mixed up.
Now you talk about injuries in sports. Boy, when a bowler you know, with a bowler, the wrist, that's got to be a tough injury to get over with.
See how he stays over the edge of the approach? We've seen that in the past television shows. That's how he creates that power and speed, so he can get the ball down the lane for him and hook back like that.
Wow, there's a strike. You wiped that one out right there. So he gets back about as far as you can.
That's right. Generates that speed through the 5-step approach, and then the leverage that he uses on his legs gets the ball down the lane. As we watch Brad Daniels. Brad's on a strike right now. Strike right here would put a lot of pressure on Gilly.
He's going to leave 3. Highest game in the career for Brad Daniels, a 265, and he comes into this tournament with a 37 handicap.
That's right. His current average is 146. And for the tournament, he's averaging 168. So he's bowled extremely well for this tournament. And for only bowling a year and a half, he's done quite well. Let's watch him go across lane for the 2-4-5.
Got it. He's on a hot streak right now, Brad Daniels.
He's up 37 pins. Brad has 103 in the 4th. Scott Gillis has 66 in the 4th. Brad has practiced a great deal in the last year and a half. He picked up the game of bowling. He said he liked it, and he got into his blood, so now he's practiced a great deal, and here he is on TV. Left lane, South 40 bowl.
Picked up a good mark. Oh, he's going to leave 1 pin on the left side there.
That was a good shot for him, though, Kelly. He hit the pocket. The ball was a little bit high, leaving the 4 pin. The nerves might be settling down for him.
Well, he doesn't at all look like this is his first time in one of our television bowling tournaments at all. He's doing a good job.
He's thrown some excellent shots in the first couple matches of the tournament. He needed strikes in the 10th frame, and he did get them.
Wow, picks up the spare there.
Okay, here's Scott Gillis. Gilly Monster up on lane 4. He's on a strike. He needs to get a couple right here to get back in the ball game. His back is to the wall. See, his hand is under the ball. He's simply going to lift through the ball when he releases right there. It's a good shot for Scott. And there's the pin action.
Yeah. I like the way you could just immediately tell right when they release that it's going to be a good one or a bad one.
Yeah, I'm the second one sitting back here. He probably knew before me, though. It's a nice thing about it. When you throw a bad shot, bowling, you've got teammates back there telling you how bad it was, but you knew before anyone else did. As we watch Scott Gillis up on left lane, must shot. 7th frame. Must get back in the ball game.
Back against the wall, and oh, he's way short. What do you think? It's the wrist bothering him?
I think it is, Kelly. The last shot on that lane, he threw an excellent shot, and he did get a strike. Where this last shot here that he threw the ball just didn't come up. Once again on the spare, he needs to hit the left side of the head pin or the 1 pin and slide it into the 10. It's just his wrist. His wrist is weak for him, and he's pressing a little bit. The ball's not reacting the same way for him. Good cover.
Boy, that was a great shot.
He's 30 pins down. Scott is 30 pins down. Brad Daniels has 122 in the 5th. Scott Gillis 92 in the 5th. Brad Daniels up on the right lane.
Oh, he got him. Brad Daniels, another strike for him.
You can see Brad looking up at the score. He's checking it out. Let's watch a rear view from him this time. Once again, he takes a 4-step approach. What you want to note on a 4-step approach is starting your right foot and your swing together at the same time. Good shot for him. Goes straight up 5 board. Ball not quite finishing.
Leaves 4 pins on the left side, and his follow-through didn't look quite right that time.
It's a good point, Kelly. He forced that one. With pressure, that one could have put Scotty Gillis away, and he just pressured a little bit too much and put a little force behind that swing. But he does have the match well in hand.
Picks it up. Boy, he keeps him on a roll, Brad Daniels. And he's not giving Scott Gillis much room to operate here. We go to the 8th frame.
That's right. Scott Gillis has to strike out for a 220 clip, and Brad Daniels is going at a 220 clip. So this is a much situation for Scott. See the ball, Kelly's just not finishing for
Yep.
Scott.
I think the injury to the wrist is bothering him, and being the type of power bowler that he is, that's a tough injury to have, and he just can't get the momentum on the ball.
Okay, let's watch him. How important the wrist is when his leg gets planted and you watch his swing come through right there. His leg is planted and the swing comes through. If he doesn't have the strength in his wrist, it won't enable him to hit the ball, as they speak.
Brad Daniels well in command in this one. And I'd say he's just about got it wrapped up.
Yeah, the best Scott Gillis can do is 197, and he must strike at this point to achieve that. And he gets it. Okay, Brad Daniels up on the right lane. All he needs, Kelly, is a mark in the next two frames. So that's Brad's job. Get a mark in one of the next two frames, and he's the winner of the first match. There's 7.
Brad Daniels works at Book Cash here in Anchorage. And as Rick mentioned, just been bowling a year and a half. On the verge of winning our first match here this afternoon.
That's right. It's come down. He has the match well in hand, but mathematically, he could still lose. Scott can still win. This is an important shot. He needs a spare to win. It's not over, Kelly.
Not quite. Boy, that was close, but he shakes his head. I'd like to have that one back again.
He must get a spare or a mark of some type to win this first match. If he doesn't mark on this frame, Scott Gillis can strike out and shoot 197. If Brad Daniels gets 9 and 0, he shoots 197. Must mark.
There it is. A good one for Brad Daniels, and that'll send him to the second round of action here at the Hawaiian Airlines Open Tournament at South 40 Ball. We'll be back with more exciting bowling action after we take this short timeout. Well, ready to go. Second round action now. Brad Daniels, after his victory, he'll face Gary Petros. And a good look at Gary Petros, the number 3 seed in the tournament, Rick.
That's right, Kelly. Gary's improved also over the last year. He made the television show earlier in the season.
And he's off to a good start with a strike right there, Gary Petros.
Okay, so we're going to take our first look at Brad Daniels in the second match. He's the winner of the first match over Scott Gillis, 207 to 176.
Brad trying to keep the momentum up here in round number 2, and oh, not a good shot for him at all right there.
Half a loaf. That's what they call that, 5 count. 5 out of 10, they call it was half a loaf.
It's a lot of work for these bowlers that come in the number 5 and 4 seed to try to work their way up the ladder here in television tournaments. And
that's right.
A lot of times you just see them run out of gas a little bit.
That's true.
There's a spare for Brad Daniels.
It can also work the other way, where he gets momentum and gets loosened up, gets accustomed to the lights, and just keeps on striking. We'll see how it plays with Brad.
Put it away in that last frame against Scott Gillis. And looking, no. Didn't get the good pin action at that one at all.
Ball didn't quite finish for him.
Well, he considers for him to be a successful bowler, he's got to pick out his mark, and he's got to always have the good follow-through. And if he can remember those two things, he usually has a good game. Boy, he's had a great tournament so far. Picks up the spare there, Brad Daniels.
Gary Petros up on the right lane. Lane 4 here at South 40 Bowl. Gary has a handicap of 9. Brad Daniels has a handicap of 37. So this is an important shot for Gary already. He's on a strike. He can surely use the strike now. He leaves a pesky 4-pin.
Yeah. Oh, the 4-pin. Petros, he's been here before. You know, he's experienced in these television tournaments. This is what his second or third tournament that he's made the final 5 cut.
That's right. He's pretty steady, cool customer. Just see him get set. That's pretty much the same way he bowled last time he was on television.
And he gets that 4 for the spare.
Okay, through the first frame, Kelly, Gary has 29. Brad Daniels has 54. 25 pins separating the bowlers.
Highest game ever for Petros has been a 267. And he comes into this tournament with an average of 187. 35-year-old Gary Petros.
Using a 5-board coming up from the outside. Doesn't.
No.
Almost gets the splasher. Leaves a 5-pin. That's the type of stuff that Gary needs to get against Brad right now, Kelly. Otherwise, that'll tighten up his swing, Gary's swing, and loosen up Brad. And that's what Brad needs to go up through the matches. He needs to get some breaks from his opponents, not carrying. So we see Gary cover the 5-pin. You see both bowlers using the outside trajectory, the first arrow or the 5-board. So Brad standing to the right on the approach. Going straight up 5. A little high for him. There you go. Once again, you see how the 7-pin fell down and broke up the split for Brad? That's what Brad's going to need this evening. Break up those splits.
Well, Brad Daniels has got to be happy with his performance in this tournament. As we mentioned in his first match, just been bowling a year and a half and picking up more experience all the time, and picks up the spare right there.
That's right. You mentioned earlier how Brad struck in the 10th frame the last game, or the first match. And he has done that repeatedly. That's about the 3rd strike he's needed in his matches. And as we mentioned, he was a winner over Scott Gillis, 207 to 176. And if he wants to win this game, he's going to have to keep himself clean, pick up those spares. It's about 32 pins separating the bowlers. Brad needs to take his time, get set on the approach, and fit the ball between the 2 and the 7. The 2 pin is closest to him. That's the pin the ball has to hit.
Tough spare to pick up, but he's not going to do it. Brad Daniels.
Once again, that's the bowling ball that hooks harder for him. You can see the red one sitting on the rack. And he used the ball that hooks a little more for him, and that's what happened. The ball hooked on his spares. We watch Gary Petros up on the right lane.
His main thing, he says, in his form is just try to relax out there, not rush the lanes at all. Not quite.
He's in the pocket, though. Gary's has thrown an excellent game so far. He leaves a 4-pin, a 5-pin, and now this 8-pin. What Gary needs to do is just stay right there, and eventually those pins are going to fall. And hopefully he won't run out of time. But he's thrown an excellent game. What the mistake that Gary would make is try to make some adjustments to carry those and go through the head pin, or maybe miss the head pin on the right. So we'll watch and see how that materializes.
Picked up the spare there. He's been bowling in leagues for 10 years now, Gary Petros. Well, let's take a good look. Why don't you talk about his follow-through and just his form right here, Rick?
He has a a solid approach, solid game that just goes straight through as you watch him follow through. It's a type of game, as he leaves a 4-pin again, it's a type of game that will not get him in trouble. As you can see, he's been around the pocket, but yet his game isn't as explosive as Scott Gillis. Let's watch him once again. Let's watch his follow-through. His fundamentals are excellent. He starts the same way all the time, and his follow-through. Let's note his follow-through as it goes through. 4-step approach, right through there. Excellent shot.
Got it. Picks up the spare for Gary Petros. Well, these guys are going at it right now in the second round of our Hawaiian Airlines tournament here at South 40 Bowl. Glad you could join us here on KTVA. Daniels, no, he can't pick up the strike. He's looking for his first strike, the second round match. Petros has got 1 to his credit.
That's right. Petros has 1 strike and no opens. Brad Daniels doesn't have any strikes, and yet he has 1 open. Now he has 2.
Couldn't pick up the spare there.
Brad Daniels did have 28 pins handicap above Gary, but with those 2 opens that he's had, the match is even. It's within 2 or 3 pins. As you see Gary Petros wiping his brow. Brad Daniels up on the left lane. A little more authority behind that shot for Brad.
Not much action, though. He's going to leave 3 pins. I guess it's important now for the bowlers at this point in the match is just try to relax.
That's right. You're going to see something in Brad that I was surprised to see this weekend during this tournament. When he got into a position that pressure was on him, he really went for it. He was aggressive. And he covered the spare. He was aggressive, and he went for those strikes that we talked about earlier. Watch Gary Petros up on the right lane. Gary's been around the pocket the entire game. Let's see if he can carry one shot. Four-step approach. Nice, solid game.
Looking for the strike and gets it. His second strike of the match here.
Gary's a cool customer. He'll stay around that pocket just like this. Important shot for him. If Gary gets his strike, put a lot of pressure on Brad. It's the mental part of game.
Gary's married. Him and his wife, Kim, have one child. He works at Jack White Company in retail leasing here in Anchorage. Looking for his third strike, and no.
You can see that time that he was a little lazy, if that's a good word for it. He wasn't aggressive for that strike. He laid the ball short, and the ball went high on the head pin, leaving a 4-pin. But still, with his type of game, Kelly, keeps him out of trouble. He leaves a 4-pin rather than a split. You watch him stand in the center of the approach, go across lane for the 4-pin.
Looking for the 4. Put it in there. He got it. And keeping the pressure on Brad Daniels.
Important shot for Brad. I think you'll see an aggressive shot coming from him right here.
Follow through looks good.
Ooh.
No.
Excellent shot for Brad. He just didn't get the break that he needed. And Kelly.
Good action.
That's right. With this spare, we'll have a tie ball game. Both bowlers have 126 in the 6th. Both of them are on spares. Let's watch the difference between these two bowlers. I believe that Brad will be a little more aggressive than Gary these last few matches, or excuse me, last 2 frames.
Looking for the spare, he gets it. He needed it, and he got it. Well, we're almost all tied up here. We are
tied up. 126 for each bowler in the 6th frame. Both of them are on spares. I talked about the firmness and the aggressiveness that Brad has. I think he'll have this the rest of this game. It surprised me to see him in the aggressiveness. Watch his follow through, right there. It's a good shot for him. And there you can see it.
Wow. Good follow through and a good strike for Brad Daniels.
You see the aggressiveness that Brad threw on these last 2 shots. Now let's watch Gary. Gary has a tendency to get a little lazy and not be as aggressive. And that's his personality, if you will. Not being lazy, just being mellow and conservative. And you can see it gets the job done also. Both bowlers, 146 in the 7th, and both of them are on the strike.
Boy, we're going down to the wire in this one.
Last 2 shots. 9th and 10th frame, both bowlers on the strike. Important shot for Gary.
Winner goes on and faces our 2nd seed of the tournament.
That's right. Gary gets this strike, put a lot of pressure on Brad. Let's watch the 2 bowlers. I believe Gary will be conservative, not quite as aggressive as Brad. And there's the difference.
That's going to be a tough one to pick up.
He must slide the 1 into the 10. At that point, Kelly, you want to go for it. You need to go after those strikes. Put some pressure on your opponent. There isn't any defense in the game. Now he must pick up this washout.
Let's see if he can do it. Gary Petros. No. That was a hard spare to pick up. 174 for Gary Petros.
The match is not over. Brad Daniels is up in the 9th frame. If he strikes here, that'll put a lot of pressure on Gary. I believe you'll see a firm shot come out of Brad. Aggressiveness through the shot.
He needs it right here. No.
It's a good shot for him, though. With this spare, he will be 11 pins up, and there's only 1 frame left. The best Gary can do is shoot 204. Brad Daniels is going at a 206 clip. So Brad needs to stay clean. Needs to convert this spare. Remember, he's using the ball that's hooking more for him, the black one. It's hooked by his spares in the last few shots. Good cover. Okay, we'll come down 10th frame. Brad Daniels needs to strike and spare to close out Gary Petros. If Brad throws 2 strikes, he will shut out Gary. Once again, watch how Brad gets aggressive with that shot. Throws it down the lane.
No. Almost a strike, but leaves one pin.
Okay, with this spare, Kelly, Brad will shoot 205 with the spare and strike, and the best Gary can do is 204, so we're going down the 10th frame again. Brad stands on the right side of the approach, using that softball again. Whoa!
Almost, but he nails it.
You see, every once in a while he'll pick up the red ball that's sitting on the ball rack there. That's when he wants to use his harder ball, when the ball starts hooking more at his spares. Important shot. Brad Daniels strikes here. He closes Gary Petros out. Once again, you'll see something in Brad that is firm and aggressive, and he'll go for the shot. He's gone for these shots in the last few matches.
He's had the momentum so far, and there it is. Boy, he needed it, and he got it. Brad Daniels. No chance for Gary Petros. Brad Daniels goes on to our semifinals in the Hawaiian Airlines Open. We'll be back with more exciting bowling action from South 40 Bowl on Diamond Boulevard after this short timeout.
We now join the third game in the second frame.
And usually on trying to pick up this spare, he usually leaves the 10 pin on the right side. No, he got it this time. Well, practice makes perfect for Brad Daniels. He nails the spare. That's a great shot.
I'm sure his girlfriend Lori St. Dennis and his best buddy Bruce Johnson are excited about that. It's a great shot for Brad. That's the type of situations that need to happen for him to win. And he's loosening up. You can see his body movements being more relaxed for him. His swing is loose.
Leaves one pin there. Well, he's one match away of going into our championship match here this afternoon.
And the tournament leader, Ray Cox, has also improved within the last year. He's become an excellent bowler. So watch Brad Daniels stay on the right side of the approach, going for his 8-pin.
Good follow through.
Watch out. There's that ball that hooks. Remember, that's the point that he needs to change to the harder ball so it doesn't hook as much for him. This could be the opening Larry Castro needed. Larry needs to settle down, make some good shots for himself.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he needs to get going right now.
That's it. Good point.
Looking for the strike here. No, almost.
Almost gets it. That's the type of hit that Larry and his type of ball will carry. As you can see, Larry changed balls. Looks like he's going to a harder one, so it doesn't hook as much for him. It's a good tip for the crankers out there, or even the straight ball players. Go to a harder ball when you want the ball to go straighter.
Picks up the spare.
That could have been what happened on those last two spares. He missed to the right, Kelly. He used the ball, as you can see him picking up the softer ball, and he expected it to hook, but it didn't. Okay, his idol is Pete Weber, and you can see a lot of Pete Weber in his game. He has the high backswing, he has the arm movement, he has the hook shot that Pete Weber has. He also likes his intensity in this. Larry is a cool customer under pressure also, so watch him go.
Got it. Picks up the strike.
You heard him rooting on his shot that time. It was a great shot for Larry. Situation. Larry Castro has 63 in the third. Brad Daniels has 74. So we're within 11 pins. Brad Daniels is on the right lane. Crosses over.
Maybe no. Boy, you can't get much closer than that. Brad was even yelling at the pin to fall over.
He must have heard me, Kelly. He's picked up the red bowling ball. The ball that goes a little straighter for him.
Yeah.
Either that or he's watching Larry. It's a good tip for our viewers at home. When the ball is hooking a little more for him, grab the harder ball that goes straighter. Good shot. See him picking up his ball that hooks more for him? On the strike ball when you want the angle, grab that softer ball. Make the ball hook more for him. And on your spare shots, you can see the red ball come back. Go a little bit straighter. Important shot for Brad. Needs to put some pressure back on Larry.
No.
The 2-pin.
Daniels at one time in his young career rolled 6 strikes in a row.
You says his greatest bowling experience, Kelly, was his first 200 game. It's an achievement for everyone in the sport.
Yeah, he's up to a high game of 265 now. Nails the spare there. And he's staying out in front. And Larry Castro trying to play some catch-up here.
Okay, Larry's on a strike. This would put him back in the ball game within a couple pins of Brad. It's an important shot for Larry as you see him spread that index finger. 5-step approach. Whack.
No, the 10 pin on the right side.
It's a good shot for him. You can hear him rooting on. Now we'll see what you see him grab the other ball. This is a tough spare for Larry. This isn't a gimme spare for anybody that hooks the ball like him. 10 pin on the far right. He must be real accurate. He needs to straighten his ball out for him. It doesn't look like he is, Kelly. It looks like he's turning the ball up normal. And converts it. Good shot.
Nice shot for Larry Castro. Well, you get the feeling watching Larry Castro bowl here today. Only 19 years old. He's going to have one heck of a career before it's all done.
That's right, Kelly. The young bowlers, one on bowling 1.5 years and Larry bowling 4 years. They've studied the game. They've learned a lot on TV, changing equipment. Let's watch his fingers. See how that finger's spread? Look at his eyes. Look at that target. It's a great shot. Good camera work, fellas. Swings ball out to 2 board. Here it comes.
Got it. Oh, man, what a shot for Larry Castro.
That's a contemporary game, Kelly. If you can rip the cover off that bowling ball and make it hook and make it get a lot of revs, that's what you're looking for nowadays. As we watch Brad Daniels up on the right lanes. It's a good shot for Brad. Look at this.
Yeah. Boy, he had the momentum there on the ball. He had some speed on that ball.
We're going to see some intense players these next few shots. We talked about the adrenaline, and as you can see, Larry Castro, he's into his shots too. Stepped on that bug down there. Brad Daniels up on the left lane. Situation this. Brad has 113 in the 5th. Larry has 103. Both bowlers are on a strike. Important shot for Brad Daniels right here. Put pressure on Larry.
Ooh. That tailed away from him. You could see it right after he delivered it. Right after the release, the ball just kind of swayed way off to the left. Missed his mark.
He left the 2 pin on that lane last time, thinking the ball didn't come up, and he must have made an adjustment or pulled the ball way to the left. With this spare, he will have 133 in the 6th.
Got it.
Over. Important shot for Larry Castro. He left the 10 pin on this shot, this lane last shot. He needs this one to get within 2 pins. See him, boy, I tell you, these young fellows are studies. They've watched the game. You see him set his feet. They know the game of bowling. Important shot for Larry. Yo.
Almost.
Even though that wasn't one of his best shots, Kelly, you can see with that revolutions that he puts on the ball, how it mixes the pins around. You see him change balls again. This young man's been around the game a long time, more than 4 years.
Well, Rick, with the contemporary style, it seems like it would be harder to pick up the spares like what Larry has to do right here, is it?
It is, Kelly, but he's made the adjustment as far as changing the bowling balls. Another thing that he needs, as you can see him go back to the harder ball, one thing Larry will learn in the next year or so is how to straighten the ball out. He can do that by changing his wrist position. But the strike ball he has is dynamite. He'll throw a lot of strikes in his career. Okay, let's watch his follow through as it goes past his ankle and released. See the whack. See all that force behind it? See, even though he's not bowling his best game, Kelly, he's still around the pocket. He's still causing the pins to mix.
And he's still keeping the pressure on Brad Daniels.
Good point. Once again, he went to the harder ball, shooting a spare. This is a tough spare. The 2-8. Needs to make a good shot. Convert a spare. Hold on. That's what's so tough about it. It's digging himself a hole. Brad Daniels, with 2 strikes here, can put the match away. You can watch Brad again. He has that intense desire. We saw that in the last match. Important shot. Put a lot of pressure on Larry.
Got it. Boy, an important shot you mentioned, Rick, and he nails it.
This young man's got a lot of heart, Kelly. Once again, Brad's looking up the score. He knows the score. He knows how important this one is. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of character he is. This one will put away the match. It's be an awful tough, awful big ball right here. Coming up, Brad Daniels, lane 3.
Can he do it? Yes! A strike for Brad Daniels. Oh, back-to-back strikes for Daniels in the 8th and 9th frame.
Speaking of back-to-back, Larry Castro's back is to the wall. He must get these next 2 strikes. 9th frame. The best he can do is 210. Must get the strike.
Yes, there's one of them. There's one in the bank right now. He needs another one. Well, sometimes we've seen it so many times in these television tournaments, Rick. It's really when the best of the bowler's ability comes out. When they're back against the wall and they need the strikes, a lot of times we see them come right through and put the strikes up there.
That's right. The competitiveness in the human nature is watch Larry Castro. He needs to throw 3 strikes right here to force Brad Daniels to mark.
No. Couldn't get the second one in a row.
Okay,
Is there any opening at all for Larry?
as long as Brad Daniels stays behind the foul line and shows up to bowl, he's going to be the winner of this match number 3 today. But you'll see more of Larry Castro in the future. Once he gets that power bowling ball underneath his control, gets a little more finesse behind it, you'll see him a lot. Remember, he's only 19 years old. His game's a 30-year-old game.
And it seems like when they get a taste of these television tournaments, they're back for more month after month.
5-step approach. Excellent approach for this young man. There you go. 190 is his game. Brad Daniels simply needs to stay behind the foul line and get a good count. See how loose he is compared to the first game? He's much more relaxed.
Oh yeah, he's been out there. He's been out there all afternoon. Well, Brad Daniels in command, and he is ready to go on to our championship match here. He'll face
Ray Cox.
Ray Cox, yeah, Ray Cox in the championship match. We'll take one more look at Brad Daniels as he can't quite pick up the spare. But Daniels on to the championship match here this afternoon. He'll take on Ray Cox. That match, the championship of the Hawaiian Airlines Open. It's coming up next on KTVA. Stay tuned. Here we go, championship match of the Hawaiian Airlines Open. And it's Brad Daniels and Ray Cox. Brad Daniels, the number 4 seed when we started, and he's worked his way all the way up here to the championship match, Rick.
That's right. He's had an excellent show today. He's bowled well. He's been aggressive. And he's gotten a few breaks like that.
Starts off on the right foot right there with a strike.
Great.
And take a look at Ray Cox for the first time.
Ray's had some TV exposure. He was on the television show earlier this year. 5-step approach. And he's improved.
Yeah, nice strike there for Ray Cox. So both bowlers on their first approach nailed the strike.
Both of these bowlers, Kelly, have been dedicated to the sport. They've both have practiced a great deal, and both of them improved, and both of them have desire and a lot of heart. Important shot for Ray Cox. 5-step approach. Excellent bowler. There's that left lane again, Kelly. It didn't quite finish for him. Needs to make the adjustment, or he could have thrown that ball a little bit harder.
Well, Ray Cox, the number 1 seed. 25 of Anchorage's best bowlers started out. Now we're down to 2. And he picks up the spare there. A nice one for Ray Cox.
Okay, Brad's opportunity is coming earlier this game in the championship match. This would be an important shot if Brad were to get this strike. Must be aggressive again. He breaks up the split. Brad struck on the first frame, Kelly, as you see him pick up the harder ball. He struck on the first frame, and had he gotten up on this last shot and struck these next two shots, it would put a lot of pressure back on Ray. As it is, Ray's back in the match.
Well, he went to the heavier ball there again and picks up the spare. Brad Daniels has just been bowling a year and a half. We mentioned works at the book cash here in Anchorage.
I believe he's picked up a few bowling books and has read them. You can see in his game.
No, not quite there.
Again, the ball comes up high, pulls the ball a little bit to the left of his target. Leaves a 3-5. The 3-pin is closest to him. As he grabs the harder ball, the ball needs to hit that pin closest to you. If it doesn't hit it, nothing's going to.
Heavier ball and picks up the spare for Brad Daniels.
Ray Cox is up on the right lane. 5-step approach. You watch him start with his left foot. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and slide. Playing the 5 board.
Oh, that's a nice one. He's happy about it, Ray Cox. Ray's 28 years old. He's been bowling for over 3 years. Let's take a look at the style here of Ray Cox.
Watch the trajectory he gets out on the lane, Kelly, how far it goes out past the foul line. Right there. Goes 8 feet down the lane.
Wow. Great pin action on that one, too. And Ray Cox on a roll right now.
That's right. Ray has 45 in the second. Brad Daniels has 75 in the second. But Ray's on a double. Brad needs to throw a strike right here. Put some pressure back on Ray. Needs to come up. Doesn't quite get the finish.
That's happened to him a couple of times here today. But Brad, for the most part, has picked up the spares.
Yeah, he seems to just kind of feel his way through the first few frames of each match, Kelly, and then he puts it on near the latter part of the game.
He's got a lot of confidence out there right now. And another spare for Brad Daniels.
That's a good point, Kelly. When you mentioned he has a lot of confidence, he's become more relaxed out there, more familiar with the TV lights. Let's watch it in his whole game. But one thing I'll notice is push away. Watch how freer it is than the first game. You see his hand going in the ball much looser. Watch his swing. Push away and swing is everything much looser for him than the first game. And there's a result.
Man. Some great action there. And Ray Cox stepping up there. Ray's bowled a 280. His highest game in his career. And as you mentioned, Rick comes in with a 192 average.
Threw that ball a little bit hard on that lane, Kelly. Didn't quite finish for him. That was an awfully important shot for Ray. He needed that one to get within 15 pins of Brad. Now he has to convert a tough spare. He's take his time. Shoot cross lane for that 2-4-5-8. And he gets it. Okay, Kelly, Ray Cox has 91 in the fourth. Brad Daniels has 114. So there's 23 pins separating the bowlers. Brad's on a strike, Ray's on the spare. 5-step approach.
Yeah, he got it. Ray Cox. Well, he's been sitting back and watching here today, and it's paid off. He's very relaxed and keeping the momentum going.
He is comfortable. Brad Daniels up on right lane. This would be an important strike if he were to get it. He's come up, and
yeah,
he gets
got it.
That puts him 34 pins up. Excuse me, 33 pins up on Ray. We're halfway through the match. This is once again an important shot.
That's the nice thing about these television tournaments. It's based on that handicap system. So a young bowler like Brad Daniels, he gets benefit from the handicap. Another strike for Daniels.
Gets Brooklyn. There's 33 pins separating two bowlers. Ray must get this to stay within 33 pins. Brad's on a double. Ray's on a strike. Important shot for Ray. If he doesn't get this, time's running out.
No, not the strike. Leaves one pin over on the right side. We got some prize money difference. First place, $225. Second place, $115. That's what we're playing for right now. There's a nice spare for Ray Cox.
See, Ray should have taken his time. You see, he reached down, picked up the ball, and just stood up there and started throwing the ball. Needs to take his time.
There's a strike. I think he was listening to you, Rick.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably why he threw a strike. That's why I'm sitting back here and he's bowling, right? Keep my mouth shut. Just kidding. Brad Daniels up on the right lane. He's on 3 in a row. This would put Ray's back completely to the wall. Important shot. Brad Daniels.
Leaves a little crack in the door. Well, he hasn't ran out of gas. He's been out there every match that we've had on here today. Started with the number 5 seed. He beat Scott Gillis. Then knocked off Gary Petros. And then in the semifinals beat Larry Castro, and up against Ray Cox here for the championship, and picks up the spare there.
Okay, Kelly, Brad Daniels is going at a 233 clip. Ray Cox, if he strikes out, will shoot 241. So we're once again going down the 9th and 10th frame, Kelly.
Well, every match here today, it's been a good one. They've all been pretty close.
Brooklyn.
No, the 10 pin on the right side. This is usually the part of the game where Brad Daniels, at least so far today, has really started to get going.
That's right. As you see, he picks up the harder ball. You go cross lane for the 10 pin. Good choice for Brad. Ball will go straighter. The pressure is on Ray. Ray must strike these next few shots. Important shot. Ray Cox, South 40 ball. Must strike right now. And he doesn't get it.
Any chance for him? Not looking good.
The best he can do, Kelly, is 221. Brad Daniels, even if he walked out of the building, will shoot 222. So Brad Daniels is the champion of the Hawaiian Airlines Open. As we watch Ray Cox go for his spare. Ray's the owner of RC's Pro Shop here at South 40 Bowling Lane, so it looks like he's going to have to go back and drill up a few new bowling balls. But he threw an excellent game on TV. Brad Daniels with that 32 pin advantage with the handicap was just too much to overcome today.
Yep. Brad was just too tough. He had the momentum from his first match here today and kept it all the way through. And Ray Cox will walk away with second place prize money of $115. There's a strike for Cox.
Ray strikes here. He will shoot 210. So once again, he didn't take his time. He's relaxed and takes the time on those shots. Shoots 209. Very respectable game on TV.
And that's it. There's the winner, Brad Daniels.
One happy camper right there.
Yep. And that's it. Brad Daniels, our champion here at the Hawaiian Airlines Open. Back with more from South 40 Bowl after this timeout. Well, welcome back to South 40 Bowl. Rick Smythe's got the presentation of the award money. 5th place goes to Scott Gillis. 4th place to Gary Petros. 3rd place to Larry Castro. 2nd place to Ray Cox. And 1st place to champion Brad Daniels. For Rick Smythe, I'm Kelly Thompson. So long from South 40 Bowl.
Puts it out and splits them.
Great shot. Excellent shot. Gallery like that.
KTVA Sports presents another local sports exclusive. From the beautiful East 40 Bowl, it's the Hawaiian Airlines Open.
He's relaxed. Stops. Good shots. And there's one. It's a good shot for Scott.
Definite solid hit on that one.
I believe that was called a can opener. Let me borrow your dictionary. Rip the 5 into the 7. Ace Cathcart up on the right lane. He's on 3 in a row. Thought we took his mic away. He's a strike. Oh, look at baby.
Brought to you by Hawaiian Airlines.
From the East 40 Bowl, Tom Miller along with Rick Smythe for the finals of our Hawaiian Airlines Open. And Rick, looking forward to a great tournament. We've got an expanded field, 6 bowlers this week instead of the 5, 3 newcomers, 3 veterans, including our first woman.
That's right. Barb Bembo was the first lady to make the TV show. Earlier this year, Tom, she shot a 300 back in March. It's the first time a lady in Anchorage has shot a 300. It's the second woman in Alaska to shoot it. We should have a show today that could go down in history.
And we'll be back with our first match right after this.
We are Hawaii.
We have learned by living on islands.
We know it is best to share what we have.
We know the warmth of a smile is as sweet as the warmth of the sun.
Didn't get rolling with some strikes in the early part. The 18 pins won't mean anything to him. But Ace is starting to throw some strikes. You can see Ace once again sitting back, relaxed in the back seat.